it's Vanessa from Wander Onwards, and today we're talking about how to move abroad for Americans. For the last 7 years, I've been living abroad in China, the United Kingdom, Germany, Turkey, loads of places. And if there's anyone that knows a little something about what it takes to make it abroad, it's me. While living abroad as an American definitely isn't easy, it's definitely not impossible. We've created this idea that America's number one, America's the best. But in reality, America is not the best for everyone. So it's up to you to figure out what works for you, what sort of values you want to have, and where you want to be. Although every country has its own specific requirements for immigration, moving, visa requirements, the process is still the same. In this video, you're going to learn how to prepare for the process, confront visa and immigration issues, how to find a job abroad, and finally, how to integrate with the world around you. If this seems daunting, it doesn't have to be. I actually have a How to Move Abroad masterclass called The Great Escape, and if you want to be handheld through the end-to-end process, definitely check it out. I'll leave the link in the comments section. Now, when you're moving abroad, things are typically the same whether you're American or not, but the difference is in the immigration details. Also, it's actually kind of hard to get a visa as an American abroad because we make it so difficult for people to come to our country. You can check it out online at startyourgreatescape.com. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button if you enjoy this content, and why not turn on notifications while you're at it? You're always going to have to do the same moving process regardless of where you are. You need to make sure you have the following figured out. What country do I want to move to? Will I move abroad alone? How long do you intend to live abroad? What type of job do you want abroad? And so many more questions, but let's start with the basics. Now, I would recommend that you take at least 3 to 6 months to plan your move abroad if this is your first time doing it. I actually moved from Beijing to London in like 4 weeks, but that was like a garbage fire kind of move. And I learned a lot from it. When considering what type of country you want to move to, you really need to reflect on the values of that country as well. If you're young and healthy and really want to make a dollar, maybe consider Dubai or somewhere in the United Emirates because you get paid hella cash and there's a really low tax rate. However, if you have a pre-existing condition or maybe you want to be somewhere where Social Security is more of a priority, maybe consider somewhere in Scandinavia like Norway or Germany, where I'm at. If you're looking to move abroad for a short period of time, there are actually easy to move to countries for Americans, which can give you up to a year in visa-free movement. I'll link an article down below where you can see a list of countries like that. But for example, the United Kingdom gives Americans tourist visas for 6 months. And as long as you can support yourself financially and don't need to tap into local resources, Social Security, and you can't exactly work on a tourist visa, you're free to stay at an Airbnb or a cabin up in Scotland or a trendy flat in London without a problem. Another example would be Ireland. So Ireland's stamp process is a little tricky. From what I understand, and this is purely informational, please do not sue me for this information. I am not an immigration lawyer. There's a stamp process where Americans can actually move in and out of the country pretty freely. It's not a traditional visa, it's clearly called a stamp. And I'll link the resources down below. Now, when you're considering where to move, you also want to understand what the requirements are for finding a job. Like I mentioned before with the United Kingdom, if you go to the UK on a tourist visa, you're not legally allowed to work there. Likewise, if you're moving abroad to another country, you have to really consider what sort of opportunities there are, if your skill set matches those opportunities, and whether or not you're in an under-supported industry. If you're in a very popular industry, such as the service industry or anything that doesn't require a college degree or apprenticeship to perform, it's going to be really difficult for you to find a sponsored work opportunity in that country, unfortunately. I've linked down some resources in my blog post about how to move abroad, where you can find unofficial ways of working, such as work-study exchange or volunteer work. So you can actually go out to a different country, volunteer there for 6 months, and end up living on a farm harvesting pineapples if you really want to. You can also do the digital nomad thing, and I have another resource that I'll link down below about how to make money anywhere. So some countries are more or less hard for Americans to move to, and this really depends on the relationship between the two governments. The standard types of visas include tourist visa, student visa, work visa, family or partner permit, and then a specialized visa, which would be like an entrepreneur visa. So like I mentioned before, with the 6-month allowance for the United Kingdom, there's loads of countries that allow Americans to stay up to a year without doing any formal visa paperwork. A few countries that you can stay in up to a year include Albania, Georgia, Peru, the Bahamas, and Palau. If you're intending on staying in a country and trying to build a life there, you're going to need to consider viable visa options to do so. Let's have a quick look at what these options are. So we just talked about a tourist visa, and what that allows you to do is come in, enjoy the country, spend a little money, and then leave. Emphasis on leaving. On a tourist visa, you can't necessarily work on it, so you want to really read the fine print on it so you don't get into any trouble. Then there's a work visa. So a work visa requires you to be sponsored by some sort of business entity or maybe even a government entity. This allows you to start earning a salary, to rent a house, to open a bank account, which is like a huge deal and very difficult. This allows you to tap into Social Security potentially. It allows your children to go to school locally. There's loads of benefits to having a work-sponsored visa, and they're likely going to do most of the immigration work for you. Then you have a student visa. So I had a student visa in the United Kingdom and in China for a brief amount of time. A student visa is great because you're allowed to stay in the country. It's very easy to get this approved, and you're learning something and integrating along the way. However, there are definitely work limitations on a student visa. And then after you graduate, it's not for sure that your student visa can roll over into a work visa very easily. If you're applying for a student visa, the fact that you have a government or educational body supporting that visa means that it's going to be relatively easy to do and process. You just have to figure out how to pay for it and how to get there. Family and partner visa. So this is the hardest visa, in my opinion, to get because you have to do all the work by yourself. You don't have a company sponsoring you. You likely have to pay for your own lawyer, and it's really a lot of work. Also, family visas are crazy competitive because everybody is trying to bring over their loved ones to build a new life in whatever country they're trying to move to. It took me 3 months to get my visa appointment to complete my partner visa because there's just so many people trying to bring over family members to Germany. In fact, I came over to Germany in February, and I had to wait until 4 days before my visa expired to even see anyone. If I would have been rejected, I would have to leave Germany and start the entire visa process all over again. But right now with COVID, I can't really leave Germany because no one is going to accept me. And if I were to go back home to the United States, I would have to apply from there, and all of the embassies and government buildings are either furloughed or closed or working at reduced hours, so it was going to be a nightmare. And technically, I still lived in the United Kingdom and had half my stuff there because I got locked out of the United Kingdom due to COVID. So there was a lot moving on, and I had a really high stakes situation for my partner visa. Finally, there are various specialized visas that are out there. So whether that's a work-study opportunity, such as through au pairing, or maybe it's an entrepreneurial visa, which you can obtain if you prove that you have enough capital to support yourself and your business. Either way, take a look at these visas and be sure to consult a qualified immigration specialist or lawyer before you start your journey. Finding a job abroad. Now, when you're looking for a job abroad and ways to support yourself, there's really 2 main options. First, you can try to find a job before your arrival, and you can do this by looking online at direct companies, perhaps LinkedIn, Glassdoor, and local recruitment websites. These jobs tend to be more highly paid and more highly skilled skilled because they're trying to attract foreigners into whatever country you're interested in. If you're one of the lucky ones and you get an expat package, that means that they're going to pay for your move, they're going to give you a lump sum of money potentially to ship stuff over, and then once you're on the ground, they're going to give you some sort of handler that will help you integrate more. They'll potentially give you a flat that they'll pay for, which is really cool. And maybe they'll also throw in additional perks like gym membership or bonuses for completing your contract because they're trying to draw in foreign talent. Now, these expat packages are few and far between, so let's not get crazy. But if you're teaching for an international school, which is an extremely lucrative job, I've known teachers to get $10,000 contract completion bonuses, a paid for flat for their kids and their family, education and tuition costs covered for their children, food money. I need a lot of food money. I know, who doesn't like food money? And so much more. Plus, they get the summers off and they still get paid, which is incredible. If you're looking for a professional expat package, such as in tech, law, medicine, these are also quite lucrative and they come with generous support options. If you're unable to find a job for whatever reason before your departure, don't freak out. Every single job I've had has always been found on the ground, which is maybe why it was so difficult. But regardless, a few things to keep in mind when you're finding a job on the ground are as follows. 1, these are going to be local contracts with local salaries. Now, before you freak out, remember that the local cost of living is just so much lower. In China, I was making $20,000 a year. And as an American, that really freaked me out because in America, there are inflated salaries that don't really reflect the state of the rest of the world. So when we hear $20,000, we hear, damn you broke girl. But that just wasn't the case. I was able to have a wonderful 2-bedroom apartment. I traveled all the time. I ate out all the time. And I was easily able to live on that money because the cost of living was so low. When I first got to China, I was also teaching English. So I had my apartment paid for, I had food during the day paid for, and I had a team that was dedicated to supporting me locally with language and other types of help. Then I decided I hated small children, so I quit. But until then, it was really easy sailing and I would highly recommend. The second thing that you should consider if you're trying to find a job after you've arrived is networking. More often than not, networking is going to be the most effective way to find a job abroad because then you're able to meet people with like-minded interests or have been in the same position as you. The expat community all over the world is extremely friendly because we all know how hard it is to stay in these different countries. One thing you want to be sure of though is whatever job you're trying to get, it must have work visa sponsorship attached to it. Otherwise, you're going to be in some legal gray zones and it's really not worth it for you. Integration while living abroad. Now, integrating into a new country, culture, language can be kind of hard, especially if you're so used to a certain style of living and then of course you get dropped into something completely different. There's going to be some growing pains. I would highly recommend that you learn about the local culture and learn how to speak the local language to a certain degree because it'll really help you understand and empathize with the world around you. After all, you are a guest in this country, so I don't want to hear about any of you living in the country for 20 years and not at least trying to be part of the community. A few things that you need to consider when looking to integrate are the following. First of all, when you're looking for a house, don't commit to moving in and signing a lease for something you haven't seen in person. I know it's really stressful to think about finding somewhere to live and that the easiest way to do it would be to find something online, but this will really impact your entire experience if you don't like the people you're living with or the place that you're living at. So my recommendation would be to get an Airbnb or hotel of some sort for at least 2 weeks. There are plenty service apartments all over major cities that you can check into for 2 weeks or more, and this will give you the opportunity to see these houses in person and do your diligence. Secondly, you're gonna need an international bank account. Currently, I've been using Revolut for the last 6 years and I love it. I get to hold different currencies and different bank accounts, and it makes my life a lot easier. Now that I'm in Germany, I'm using N26, and it's kind of similar to Revolut, but it's more of a mainstream bank. Thirdly, you want to take as little with you as possible. I mean like 2 suitcases or less. You do not need as much stuff as you think. You can buy things once you've arrived, but the cost of shipping all your crap around the world is unreal. And also, your stuff is gonna have different plugs, different voltage allowances, so not everything is gonna work properly once you get there. Also, countries don't operate or cook in the same way that you might at home. When I went to China, they don't have ovens. Like, this is not a thing that they have. So when I bought cooking utensils for an oven, I couldn't even use them. And that was space I could have used for other things like shoes. If you're considering permanent relocation like me, then you're gonna wanna start accumulating stuff after you've settled. I've been abroad for 7 years now, and this is the first time I've actually bought furniture. Like, I own furniture. Like, that furniture I own. It's mine. Furniture. I know it's crazy to think about, but I've lived in so many different countries at this point, it wasn't worth buying a sofa or a table or a chest of drawers because I really didn't know how much longer I was gonna be there. So play it safe, 2 suitcases, yeah, no more. If you're thinking about moving abroad, comment down below about what country you're thinking about moving to. I'll go ahead and comment back with resources, blog posts, anything that I might have to help you on your journey. All right, guys, so that's my video on how to move abroad for Americans. Now, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and ring that little bell because it really helps my channel grow and prosper. I really appreciate you taking the time to watch this video. I post new videos every week, so definitely subscribe if you're interested in personal finance, travel, what I do with my life and my cat, things like that. Thanks for watching. If you liked that video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel to get notified about new videos every week.